Happy Tuesday! Welcome to my house and welcome to my kitchen. I'm delighted to be here. I'm super excited to share with you today some of the things that many people always ask for and some of the things that seem so simple and yet they have their tricky side. So I'm making salsa today. I'm gonna make 3 different salsas. If we think back on salsas in Mexico, it is an extensive subject, as extensive as it would be to say curries in India, for example. Salsa is, how would I call it? Let me think. Salsa is the mixture of ingredients, regularly vegetables, that enhance foods like tacos, like in reality any kinds of Mexican foods go good with salsas. But salsas, if we think of it, we think of salsa whenever we eat a taco, we think of salsa when we eat a quesadilla. So salsas are amazing. Everybody likes salsa, and not only in Mexico. Hey Diana, hey Karen. Not only in Mexico, but in reality right now in the whole world, salsas are more and more and more part of the meals of families all over the world. So I really recommend that you guys don't. Diana saying that she eats salsa with everything. Me too. So I really recommend that we try and make our own salsa. It's so easy. You're gonna see right now, it's so easy that you're gonna be like, wow, I'm impressed. So today we're gonna make salsa verde, boiled salsa verde, and one of Floris salsas. So for people who don't know, Floris is a woman who was one of my biggest inspirations as far as cooking is concerned. She worked in my family for 30 years. She took care of us, she fed us, and she had such a passion for cooking. It's funny because at that point in time when I was a little girl, maybe I didn't understand that she had such a passion for cooking, but looking back now, I think of Floris and I see Floris like a mad scientist in our kitchen, just thinking of ingredients that she was gonna put in different things that she made for us, and she did such an amazing job. To this time, my friends say, oh my god, I miss Floris salsa so much. Oh my god, I wish that we could eat the tlacoyos that Floris made, because Floris is an amazing woman. So right now Floris probably is 80 years old and she retired. She's in her home in a little hometown in Mexico. But Floris is amazing, and Floris was one of the mentors, I guess. Floris was one of the mentors I had in cooking. So right now, wherever Floris is, I send her all my love and all my gratitude more than anything. Okay, so for salsa verde, I want to say some things about salsa verde. So salsa verde, the majority of times is made with tomatillo. So tomatillo is a green tomato, but it's not the same to think of green tomatoes as the fried green tomatoes that we can make, or think of green tomatoes as tomatillos. So these are tomatillos. They come like that. They have a shell, a very thin shell. It's a shell that's more like paper. So we have to remove the shell. Now I want to say something about removing the shell. Why do I do it underwater? Okay, because tomatillos have a sticky substance that sticks to your hands and sometimes stays in your hands for a couple hours at least. So I always do it on running water because that makes that sticky substance not to stick in your hands. So I'm gonna make half of the tomatillos, I'm gonna make them with boiled salsa, and half of the tomatillos I'm gonna make them in a roasted salsa. So probably you would say, well, green salsa is green salsa. No, think again. There's all varieties of green salsa. So raw salsa, for example, it's tomatillos, onion, cilantro, and salt, basically. And raw green salsa is for carnitas. So whoever has had carnitas before, carnitas are made with pork, and they are, okay, Diana says she's never had carnitas, and I know you have Mexican, right, Diana? So if you haven't, dude, you're in for a big surprise if you are a meat eater, obviously. So carnitas it's pork boiled in its own fat. That's why I haven't made them in the seed, because it's in its own fat. but they're delicious. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, whenever I go to Mexico, oh, you have had carnitas, yeah. That figured. I thought that you probably had carnitas. So carnitas are boiled in their own fat, and then they have spices like bay leaf and onion and garlic, and they boil and boil and boil and boil for a long time. Okay, you said no to, yeah, salsas are not all made the same. So carnitas is pork boiled in its own fat. I know it sounds kind of but the end result is amazing. So it creates a crispiness in the outside of the pork, and then you shred the pork or chop it on a wood board, which is the traditional way, is to chop it in a wood board. So they chop it in a wood board. They have a freshly made tortilla. They put a little bit of that meat, and then the green salsa on top, and sometimes avocado, oof, and lime, of course. In Mexico, lime is like part of the everyday meals. Lime, probably 90%, 80% of the stuff in Mexico that we eat, we love lime. Lime is super healthy also. I never thought about it that way when I was growing up, but now that I know, lime is also super healthy. So in green salsas, you can do a variety of salsa. So you can do raw salsa, broiled salsa, charred salsa. So we're gonna make two today. I'm gonna start with the first one before I continue, because probably I could talk about salsas for a whole day. So first I'm gonna make the boiled salsa, which is super easy. So the boiled salsa is tomatillos, onion, garlic, chile. You can pick either jalapeno or serrano, and salt. So we're gonna put all of that in boiling water. We're gonna wait for 5 minutes, and then we're going to pass it through either the blender or an immersion blender, which is what I think I'm gonna use. So I'm gonna show the pot that I'm gonna be making it. And before I remove this from my stove so I can have enough space, I wanna show this. So these are the veggies that we made in the ongoing class that ended 20 minutes ago. The bottom of it was hummus, and it also had, you could put on it chicken, or you could put on it tofu. So those are the things that we make in the ongoing group. Things that are so tasty that you would be like, I don't think that is healthy. Well, it is healthy, it is tasty. So I really recommend, if you haven't ever had a class with the seed, I have an opportunity right now. I'm giving a free class. It's on November 6th, if I'm not mistaken. It's on a Friday. So I'm gonna give a free class at 10 o'clock in the morning Central Time for people who, I know there's many people who go like, yeah, well, I've heard of those classes and they seem to be like fun, but I don't know if it's for me. So why don't you take the free class? And then you're gonna see if it's for you. So the things that we cook in the classes are things like what I just showed. Okay, so I'm gonna put 5 tomatillos, because I wanna use half for the boiled salsa and half for the roasted salsa. So I'm gonna put the tomatillos, then I'm going to add onion. Obviously, if you're gonna make a big container, you're going to increase the quantity. Whenever I post the recipe, I'm gonna post it with the real quantities for a bigger thing of salsa. I'm gonna use a chile serrano. You can put as many as you want. I'm just gonna put one right now. I'm gonna put a garlic clove. So I'm gonna press it against the board so I can peel it easier. Sometimes easier than others. Okay, I'm gonna put that in there. And I'm just gonna put it on the stove to boil. And we're gonna leave it there while I prepare the other salsa. So the other salsa with the roasted tomatillos, it's also super easy. What I'm going to do, and that is gonna take tomatillos, poblano, onion, garlic. Everything is going to be put on the pan, and we're going to give a little bit of color. I'm gonna say char, but it's not really gonna be like really charred. It's gonna be more like roasted, although it's not in the oven. Okay, so I'm gonna use a little bit of poblano. Again, this is because I'm gonna make only half a portion, because I'm gonna make so many salsas that, yeah, we're gonna eat them, but I don't wanna make too much, okay? So I'm gonna use poblano. I'm gonna use one jalapeno again, and you can use as many jalapenos as you want. Then I'm gonna use the other piece of the onion. I'm gonna just very roughly cut it, just because I wanna have everything in the same size, and I'm gonna put it in the pan. Then I'm gonna grab a garlic clove. I'm gonna press on it so it's easier to peel. And sometimes I use a little bit of oil, sometimes I don't. This time I am gonna use a little bit of oil. So I'm gonna wait, we're gonna wait for the pan to be hot. We don't want it to be smoking hot, but we do want it to be hot. So I'm going to add a little bit of avocado oil. And again, this is for the roasted green salsa. And this salsa goes really well with any kind of tacos. So I'm gonna add poblano to the pan. I'm also going to add the onion, and I'm gonna separate the onion a little bit so it gets a good amount of color. I'm gonna add the jalapeno, and I'm going to add the rest of the tomatillos. So what's gonna be the difference between this salsa and the other salsa? Well, this salsa is going to be, it's gonna have more depth. It's gonna be a little bit more deep in flavor. It's gonna be as good. So I'm gonna turn the flame up, and I'm just gonna let it be there for a moment. When would you decide to use it versus no? Asks Diana. That's a great question. So let me tell you what I personally use the different salsas with. So I use the boiled green salsa. I use it for sopes. I don't know if you've had sopes, but sopes are amazing. Probably I'm gonna do one single class with no guest for sopes, because I know people love sopes. And I know that when you buy it at the store, the majority of times they're really thick. So whenever you make a sope, the best sope is a thin sope, where you can feel the masa, but you don't feel like you bite on it and there's like a chunk of masa that you're biting on. So a sope has to be really thin, and then cooked enough to where it's cooked, but it's not hard, because you want to be able to bite on it. So for sopes, the boiled green salsa is fantastic. And then the charred green salsa, I would say for quesadillas, 100%. You can also use it for chicken. For chicken fajitas, it sounds amazing. What I have found here is that, never had it like that, says Diana. Well, make it and please let me know. I'm gonna post the recipe next to the picture. So what I've seen here in the States, especially in Texas, they are fanatics of fajitas here in Texas. So they always use the same salsa. I've noticed that they always use the red salsa, that is tomatoes, onion, garlic, cilantro, lime, which is a good salsa. It's the same salsa they use for chips. But I think there's such a variety in salsas. Why use the same all the time? That's what I personally think. So the green one, I would say, goes really well with sopes. This one that I'm making right now, amazing for quesadillas. What a great question, Diana. That I don't think that I had questioned myself. I just automatically or instinctively just say, this would go really great with either a raw salsa or a broiled salsa. Okay, so as you guys can see, this is getting a little bit of color. Always in my classes, I say that this is Luis Miguel, because Luis Miguel was a singer in Mexico who always had a suntan, and this is how his face always looked. So in the class, I always say that it has to look like, it has to be in a Luis Miguel finish, which it's a private joke with myself, and I find it funny, although I don't know how funny it is. Now, as far as the other one, we're boiling it. How do we know when it's ready? This is important. When we're making boiled tomatillo salsa, as soon as the tomatillos change color, we're gonna turn it off and we're gonna use it. Why? Because if we leave it there for a long time, then the tomatillos get so watery that the salsa is just a little bit too much. So we don't want that. So I'm gonna get my immersion blender. Immersion blenders are these, for whoever doesn't know. I find immersion blenders to be super practical for things like this, to make salsas, to make dressings. I think they're amazing, so I'm gonna use it. So while we're waiting for the salsas to be ready, I wanted to talk a little bit about the free class that I'm gonna be hosting. So the free class is going to be hosted on Zoom. It's not gonna be here on Instagram. It's gonna be a private class. So it's gonna be a class just like the classes that I teach to my students. I'm only going to accept 15 people. So if you're interested, make sure that you sign up right now. You can sign up via either the post that I did on Instagram. You can send me a WhatsApp. I posted my number again. I'm gonna be posting every day, so you guys have the chance to either write down your email or send me a message. But that class is gonna be amazing. I'm not gonna say what we're gonna do because I want it to be a surprise, but it's gonna be a pleasure for everyone. It is going to be something Mexican because I know that many people, especially English speakers, would love to learn how to make good Mexican food. I've had the experience that in the majority of places, supposed Mexican food is more Tex-Mex, and people who have been in Mexico and travel overseas really want to get that Mexican flavor. So that's why I really love to teach people how to make like the real deal, but with clean, healthy ingredients. I think the combination of those is amazing. So that's what the class is gonna be about. Okay, this is already smelling. One of the ways that I can know things are starting to get ready or to be ready is when they start to smell. So this is already smelling amazing, making me hungry. We're just gonna give it 3 more minutes, and then it's gonna be ready. So Diana is saying that she cannot eat Tex-Mex. I mean, I can, because I have to accept there's a couple places that have good Tex-Mex food. That's already an entirely different ballgame. Tex-Mex is so different from Mexican food, and some people think it's the same, but it's not the same at all. So on the class, what we're gonna do is the same as we do in my classes. I'm gonna talk to each one in the class. I'm going to see how they work. I'm gonna check how they grab a knife. For example, knife skills are super important. Even for people who never wanna be a professional cook, the way you grab a knife is gonna make a difference wherever you perform. So if you grab a knife, I'm gonna give an example. So there's some people who grab the knife like that, okay? So they don't grab the knife firmly, but they just kind of grab the knife and then say that they wanna cut this. And instead of putting their hand like that so they can guide the knife, like their hand is here and they're cutting here and then they're talking to someone else, and then you can cut your finger. I mean, that's true. So it's super important to be focused. I really want to give people everything that I have gained in the last 20 years of my career in restaurants. I want to be able to give people the hacks and the shortcuts because I think that's only fair. I think that for people who are really passionate about learning how to cook healthy, it's amazing if somebody grabs you by the hand and says, hey, come here, I'm gonna show you a better way. I'm gonna show you a faster way. I'm gonna show you why this doesn't work. Why, when it looks like that, it's gonna be soggy, or it's too dry. If you follow the recipe from YouTube, which is amazing, or if you read it from a book, there's so many times that you're like, I feel super frustrated. I just don't know why is it so dry. I don't know why is it so soggy. I don't know if it needs more water. I don't know if it needs less water. They're not saying it. So because I've been teaching cooks for 20 years, just by looking at your camera in Zoom, I'm able to tell 90% of times if you need more water, if it doesn't need more water. So I really invite you. If you're somebody who likes to eat and wants to eat healthy, that's the main thing though with the seed, that I make recipes that are healthier versions of the recipe you already love. Thank you very much. Eva is saying thank you, you're a great teacher. You're a great student, Eva. It's a delight to work with you. Thank you very much. Okay, this is the moment of truth, guys. Look, this is the point when the tomatillos are getting light green. Okay, so this is when we want to remove it. If we don't remove it right now, then they're gonna be super soggy, like I was saying, and then it's gonna be a bad idea. So I'm gonna turn it off, and I'm going to bring it to my table. I was gonna do it the other way around, but I know better, so no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna bring it here, and then I'm going to empty the ingredients here in my blender. Probably I'm going to cut this one in half, just because whenever you're blending, if you have smaller pieces in the bottom, then it's easier. Hey, how are you, Rodriguez? Why can I not think of your name? Can you please write down your name for me? He's a fellow member from a group that I belong to called The Arena, which is amazing, and where we learn all the hacks to lead a better life. Okay, so I'm putting, and you're also a Joel, yes. You're also half Mexican, I think. So I'm super excited because I have my Mexican Arena members here with me. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm sure, Joel, you also like salsa, because if you're half Mexican, you have to like salsa. Okay, so look. The cilantro is always going to go last. Why? Because if I put the cilantro in right now, it's gonna change the texture of the salsa in a radical way. Okay, so I just want the cilantro to be chopped enough that I can see it, that it's small, but that it didn't become like a cilantro salsa. Okay, that's super important. Okay, so I'm going to put it on low, so I don't want it to, and I'm gonna start going like that. Now again, the immersion blender is something that I really recommend. Because look how easy, guys. It's already almost ready. So I'm gonna grab some cilantro from here. I always recommend that we use the whole cilantro, the stem and the leaves, because in the stem of cilantro, well, first of all, cilantro is a great detoxifier. I don't know if you guys know that, but cilantro is a great detoxifier. And hello, Jimena, I think it's your name, Jimena. Hello, thank you for joining. So cilantro is a great detoxifier, first of all, but second of all, on the stems of cilantro, there's a lot of good bacteria. So we want to use the whole thing. Woo! Making a mess because I'm trying to lift the bottom, which supposedly you never should lift the bottom. Okay, so what I was saying about the, I'm gonna put this here so I don't make a mess. What I was saying about the cilantro, I want to show it right now. I'm gonna get salt. I'm gonna add the salt. Then I'm gonna remove this and I'm going to rinse it because I'm gonna use it again. So what I was saying about cilantro is if I had added the cilantro first, then the whole salsa would be just like a dark green thing. Okay, whereas if I add it now, then I can see the little pieces of cilantro. I'm sure that you guys can see it. I'm gonna taste it. It's a little bit hot. I'm gonna taste it anyway. Okay, it needs more salt. So with the salt, this is what I recommend. You're gonna be adding salt little by little, okay? If you add salt, just all of it, all together, and then it happens that you added too much, there are some things that you can do, but pretty much you're going to be left with a problem, because many times once you add the salt, then that's it. So I recommend that you add salt little by little, okay? So we're going to, I'm gonna pour it here, because I'm gonna use the second, I'm gonna use this for the second salsa as well. So the second salsa is going to be the one that has the broiled chiles. So again, I'm going to cut the first one, just because I always want to have in the bottom something that's already cut, just because that makes it easier for the blades to break it. Okay, so I'm gonna put the broken pieces in the bottom, and then I'm gonna start slow because I don't want the same mess to happen to me again. So again, this was the boiled salsa. So this salsa is amazing also because Diana, I don't know if you're still there, but Diana was asking. So boiled salsa is also super good if you wanna do like pork in salsa verde. That salsa is fantastic. Or if you wanna do the sopes, like I said, or if you wanna do chicken also, chicken with potatoes in green salsa, that's amazing. So I'm gonna start slow again. And now the poblano chile is what is going to make this salsa really different. So this one has tomatillo, poblano, onion, garlic, serrano, and what am I missing? Poblano, tomatillo, onion, garlic, serrano, and that's it. And cilantro. I'm gonna add cilantro at the very end. So the roasted peppers are going to, it's the first thing that are going to make this salsa different. The roasted everything. Whenever you roast something, or whenever you, like I say in Spanish, tatemar, whenever you do that to a food, which is putting it on a pan, on a hot pan by itself, what that's gonna do is that's going to bring a lot of, it's gonna make the flavors deeper, more profound, okay? So I'm adding the cilantro now. I'm adding the other two tomatillos, and I'm adding the poblano. So those are the things that are gonna make this salsa different. can see, I'm gonna show right now how the same ingredients but cooked in a different way create a different result. Okay, I'm just gonna clean this. I'm gonna use the stems for another salsa, so I'm not gonna dispose those. Okay, so I wanna show, this is the roasted salsa and this is the boiled salsa. So together, one next to the other, you can see the difference. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. And this salsa for quesadillas is incredible. If you also wanna make green huevos rancheros, it's incredible. So I'm going to taste it. It's also hot. Ooh, it's super good. And yes, the flavor is richer, definitely. And then the last one that I'm gonna make is the one of Floris salsas. So Floris loved to make salsas with dried chiles. So this one is going to have tomato, so regular tomato, I'm just gonna cut it in, probably in two, and I'm gonna start putting everything again on the same pan. Now I always remove this part of the tomato because that's a part where bacteria live. So although these are washed already, I still always remove it. It's a habit that I've created. That's something that I always recommend in my classes. Whenever you create a good habit, then you're going to do it automatically. Whereas if you say, okay, because I need it this time, I'm gonna do it. And then when I don't need it, I'm not gonna do it. And then that creates the possibility of mistake, because you could forget. So on things like that, I always do the same things. I always remove the round thing where the stem is. I always use my hands the same way when I'm chopping, because that way, not only when I'm gonna be decorating, but all the time, I'm going to do a good job using the knife. And then it's not gonna be hard whenever I'm gonna do a salad and I want things to look amazing. I'm not gonna try harder because I always do it the same way. So that's a really, really good advice. So I'm going to add onion. It was really spicy, so I'm feeling a nice roast. And just with one chile. Now the other thing about salsas that you have to keep in mind is that salsas lose their power as time passes. So if you make a salsa today and you're like, oh, that salsa is spicy, then that doesn't mean that it's gonna be super spicy all the time. It's probably gonna lose some power. So that's something to keep in mind. Now I'm going to use one garlic clove. I'm gonna put the onion there too. I'm gonna use one garlic clove. So why do I press on the clove whenever I'm trying to clean it? Because when you press, then it's super easy to peel. So the peel comes right off. I'm gonna add that as well. And then the thing that I'm gonna add that is different is I'm going to add dried chiles. So these chiles are ancho. And what I'm gonna do with the ancho chiles this time is this. I'm gonna open them with a scissor. And then I'm going to open them again with a scissor lengthwise like that. And I'm gonna burn them in the direct flame. So I'm gonna show that in a moment. So with dried chiles, you have to always be really careful that you don't do it for too long of a time where you burn the chile. Because if you burn the chile, then the, the flavor is going to be bitter, and you don't want that. So how do I know that a chile is ready? Okay, so look, I'm gonna put the chile directly here for a couple seconds, and you guys cannot see from there, but I'm gonna show it in a moment how it's bubbling up. So when the chile is creating these bubbles, then it means it's ready. So I'm gonna do it on the other side as well. So the bubbles start to create really fast. I'm gonna show them again. So here are the bubbles. And I'm going to set this on my board. I'm gonna do the next one. So what dried chiles, they add a lot of depth into a recipe, because it is a chile that has been dried with the sun. The flavor is just so much more deep and profound than a regular chile. So I love dried chiles. I'm gonna show the bubbles once more. So here are the bubbles that are creating. So as you can see, it takes just a couple of seconds, probably 10 seconds. The other indicator that they're ready is whenever they start to smell. So anything that you put in the oven, when it starts to smell, it probably means that it's almost ready. And when you're cooking something as well, when you're cooking and the smell gets more intense, it means that it's ready. Now it's really important that the chiles are cooked enough. So that's enough for that one. And then these ones, I'm just going to leave them a little bit more. It's not, the intention is not to cook the tomato or the onion. It's just giving it a little bit of flavor with this. As you can see, the tomato, the onion, everything is looking a little bit Luis Miguel. So it has a little bit of color, and that's what I wanted. So it doesn't take like a really long time to make. It just needs that you give it a little bit of time. While I was burning the chiles, I left this here. It does start to cook, but again, the intention is not that it's cooked thoroughly, just that it has some color. And then I'm going to transfer it also to over there so I can put it in the blender. And if we really think about it, salsas are very, very healthy. Because they don't have a huge amount of fat. Although some of the salsas are cooked, they don't have a huge amount of fat. That's number one. Number two is that the majority of them have cilantro, and like I said, cilantro is really good. It's a really good detoxifier. So putting cilantro in your food, and not just in salsas, but in all the food that you can put cilantro to, I really recommend it. Onion and garlic are amazing for your health. They're very good natural antivirals, antibacterials. So using onion and garlic is really good. Garlic is also super good for the immune system. So you can never, I think that you can never say like, oh, I've used too much onion. Although I know there's people who don't really like onion, but once you blend it into things with salsa, then it becomes another story. Flavors are different. Okay, so here we have the cooked. Now, as you can see, I did not add cumin to any of the salsas. So that's something that there is cumin in Mexican cuisine, but not like the majority of Tex-Mex places here that they add cumin to everything. And some people overdo the cumin, and an excessive amount of cumin is just too much if you ask my personal opinion. So none of these salsas have cumin. Now cumin is really good for digestion. So if you do want to add a little bit of cumin to some of your food, that's perfect. But cumin doesn't equal Mexican food like many people think here in the States. So if you are somebody who has always made your Mexican food with cumin, I recommend that you try and cut back on the cumin a little bit, and you're going to get another dish, another flavor. Okay, so I'm putting onion, tomato. That's what I'm starting with. I'm gonna leave the chiles for last. So I'm going to again use the blender. I'm gonna see how it works. I usually do it in the blender, but because I make a huge amount, this time I just wanted to make a little bit because it was just for the purpose of the live. So we're gonna see how these blends. Should do a good job. Now as you can see, the color is like in seconds starting to be different. So this is a great salsa to use for barbacoa flautas, yes, for fried tacos, yes. Well, we don't fry them in the seed, but we make them in the air fryer or in the oven. But this salsa for flautas is amazing. So I'm gonna add the last of the onion. Now for this salsa, I am going to add more ingredients. I'm going to add oregano, which I'm going to bring in a moment. And I'm going to add, obviously, salt. I'm going to turn this on again. Now, how fine or how coarse you leave it, that's this salsa doesn't take cilantro. This is really good with pork as well. So I'm gonna show it in a moment. I'm gonna rinse this. Okay, it's almost ready. Woo! Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. I am going to add a little bit of oregano, which oregano is super good for your health. It's a natural antibiotic, so many people use it instead of or along with. So I'm gonna make it powdery with my fingers, and I'm going to add a very small touch of clove. Okay, by very small I mean very small. Clove is very flavorful, so it has a really deep flavor, so I don't want to overdo it. But a touch of clove is gonna make it really, really, really profound and yummy. So I'm going to taste it. Ooh. Wow, this is super good. So there it is, guys. As you can see, it wasn't hard at all. I made 3, how do you name that salsa? So it's similar to salsa borracha, Eva. I called it one of Floris salsas because Floris taught me how to make it. But you can call it salsa borracha, or you can call it salsa de chile ancho. So as you guys can see, we made 3 different salsas in what, like 30 minutes, and because I was talking. But if you're not talking, probably it's faster than that. I'm gonna show them again. I wanna show the difference. That matters to me a lot. That you guys can see that even though, so one is boiled, or no, one is boiled, the other was put in a pan. So different taste, different, both amazing. And number 3, totally different. So this is a tomato salsa, salsa that has red tomatoes and chile ancho, and the flavor is just so amazing and profound. I wish that you guys could smell it and taste it, because it smells amazing. Super easy to make. So again, I'm gonna post the recipe, and again I'm going to invite everyone to sign in for the free class on Friday, November 6th, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 10 o'clock in the morning Central Time. Sign up, because you're going to receive amazing, and I'm going to be gifting, I'm gonna give 2 gifts in the class to whoever makes the most badass plate. So I really recommend that you guys join. I'm super excited about it. And thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you for joining me in my house, in my kitchen. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I will see you Saturday. Thank you. Bye-bye.